Good morning. Good morning to you. Happy Sunday and welcome to another sharing time with the Redeeming Marketplace Ministries. I am honored to be here with you today, and I'm going to be very honest. I'm always very honest, sometimes too honest, but I'm going to be really honest with you today. I've been told, by others that sometimes we need to, as leaders, as spiritual leaders, that we should not always share our feelings, right? We should just stick to just saying what's in the Bible. I personally don't agree with that. I think that a part of my ministry is to be honest with you about what's going on. Uh, and so that's why I'm here today. I want to start by saying that almost did not even, I almost did not even come today to share with you, uh, to be honest, because I've been feeling um, heaviness, right? And as a human with divinely created emotions and feelings, um, I come to you today with those emotions and feelings. Today, I come to you as myself, as usual. I'm not coming as anybody else, right? I'm not coming as any other preacher, any other teacher. I'm coming as Jamie Green. And the reality is that though we are barely 2 months into a new year, um, and please let me know if you're having trouble hearing me. Just in the comment section that you have trouble hearing me. We are barely 2 months into this new year, and I acknowledge, and I encourage you to acknowledge that we are mentally, physically, and spiritually being assaulted. All right. Every day there's something new. Um, and though it would be easy to just say, don't worry about it, God's got us, God's in control, God has a final say. That's not how I operate. So everybody do whatever works for you. But for me, I think that people need honesty, people need transparency, that even in the midst of all of this, we can still have hope. But we must acknowledge and be real about what we're dealing with. And so today I want to speak to you from this topic, but I showed up. But I showed up. As a spiritual leader, as a mother, as a businesswoman, as a sister, as a friend, I admit to you that my heart is heavy and my spirit is heavy with the events of the past few weeks and days. Um, but I want to share something with you from the book of Lamentations, which is a book of poetic laments, where it expresses sorrow and despair, and yet still hope in God's mercy. I think the people that are going to survive this time are people that are going to be honest, number one. And the book of Lamentations is a powerful book, and it is full of raw emotion, right? It's full of experiences of grief and sorrow and despair. Yet it continues to give us glimpses of hope into God's faithfulness in our lives. And so this is what I want to share with you today. I have cried a lot this week, to be honest. Some of it was my own feelings, my own stuff I'm dealing with. Hold on 1 second, I'm trying to fix this light again. My own stuff I'm dealing with. but it was also as an empath and as a prophet. Um, I often feel and sense the heaviness and weight of other people's issues. And so this week has been extremely challenging for me. And so I honestly, when I went to bed last night, I didn't even know if I would be coming to you today. I didn't even know if I had the capacity to speak with you today. I didn't even know if I had the wherewithal to speak with you today. But the Spirit reminded me that it is in these times, right, when a voice is needed. And every message that will come to you during this time from a sacred space, um, from an anointed voice, right? It's not going to be all about let's just dance, let's just shout, let's just praise our way through, let's do a praise break. Where all of us are not doing that. All of us are not feeling that, okay? And historically, in the Bible, in all of our sacred texts, not just the Bible, but during instances of chaos and turmoil, especially political upheaval, the voices that were used by the Creator to speak, first of all, they acknowledged and addressed what was going on. They didn't just go to the king and say, just tell the people to rejoice. Just tell the people to keep dancing and just keep, don't worry about it. It's all going to work out. They addressed the issues that the people were dealing with. And so this is what I am called to do today. We will acknowledge the real issues of this time. We're not going to pretend we don't see what's going on. We're not going to pretend that we're not being impacted. Because let me tell you something. No matter how much you love God, no matter how much you preach and teach and say, I serve God with my whole heart, you're going to feel it in your pocket, just like the rest of us are going to feel it in our pockets. And so we have to be realistic about what is happening. Our health care is being affected. All of these things we must acknowledge and address. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 1, verse 16, Leviticus 1 and 16, it says, "This is why I weep and my eyes overflow with tears. No one is near to comfort me, no one to restore my spirit. My children are destitute because the enemy has prevailed." And this is what was happening in the book of Lamentations. It was the feeling of constantly being under attack, right? You may have a few minutes where you rejoice and then boom, there's something else. We are here in America, and it's having a worldwide, domino effect, but we're experiencing consistent grief. All right. 2 months into the year, we've had numerous plane crashes that resulted in fatalities and loss of life. We are experiencing the death of ideas and systems that we have taken for granted for so many years. Many of our beliefs are under attack. People's ways of life, etc., are under attack. People have awakened in the morning ready to go about their day and have been removed from their homes, their places of business, because of someone else's ideology of what this country should be like. And you cannot pretend that these things are not happening because you love God. The empire, the United States of America, is falling and imploding upon itself from the top. All right? The empire is falling. So we acknowledge these things. We address these things. And we have those moments when we are feeling the weight and the heaviness of those things. We have loved ones that we are being directly impacted by some of the decisions that are being made in what we call government now, and that are impacting people's lives forever. Families are being torn apart. So we cannot pretend that we don't see these things. Lamentations chapter 3, verses 17 through 20. It says, I have been deprived of peace. I have forgotten what prosperity is. So I say, my splendor is gone, and all that I have hoped from the Lord. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. So here we address these things. We acknowledge these things, right? We pull our head out of the sand and say, and these things are really happening. We stop rocking in our rocking chairs and just say, I'm just going to pray and trust God, and that's it. But we acknowledge that there are some real life things happening that are altering people's lives to the extreme, right? But then we reach a turning point in the scripture where we recognize that even in the midst of all of this, we still have hope. So we continue to show up. Lamentations chapter 3, verses 21 through 23. The very beginning of that verse says, yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. I want to encourage you today to be realistic about what is happening around you, what is happening to you. We can't dance through everything. We can't shout through everything. We can't ignore things and they automatically go away. But even in the midst of all that is happening right now, we still have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. I said this several times this week. I am aware, but I am not consumed. I feel heaviness when I think about the conditions and what is happening to people that I know, but I am not consumed. Why? For his compassions never fail. Listen, we can't sit back and blame God for these things. We can't blame the Creator for these things. Man created these things, and now man is getting the reactions to our behaviors as people. But the Creator's compassion and love for us and mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Every day, you have to remind yourself that you're still here, that you are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, that His mercies are here. Many years ago, I was living in Stamford, Connecticut, and I was dealing with some things, and I was lying prostrate in the floor, just crying and moaning and interceding and praying and weeping and wailing, all of that, and asking the Creator for a miracle. I'm like, I need a miracle in this situation. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle it. I need a miracle. And the Spirit said to me, you don't need another miracle. All you need is a memory. You've been here before. You've been destitute. You've been in despair. You've been discouraged. You've been depressed. You've felt over anxious. You've been overwhelmed. You've been here before and you came through. I brought you through that. And so this is what I'm saying to you today. Oftentimes we're sitting back waiting and waiting and waiting and praying for a miracle, when what we need to do is remember. Remember where you've come from. Remember what you've been through before. Remember how your ancestors struggled and endured, how they made what they had work. Remember these things. Call these things to mind. This is what gives us hope, is that we're not we're not new to this, right? We're not new to men who think they are gods. We're not new to men who want to make themselves gods. We're not new to being used for other people's agendas. We're not new to having to uh, do with less to survive. We've been here before. So whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with, just continue to show up in what capacity you can show up. Things may change for you, but be honest, right? And show up. Lamentations chapter 3, verses 25 through 26. The Lord is good to those who hope in him, to the ones who seek him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation or for the deliverance of the Lord. Let's be realistic. This moment in our history is weighty. It is heavy, right? There's no need of pretending. There used to be a saying, and I think some people probably still say it, what you don't know won't hurt you. And that's one of the biggest lies ever told. Because there are people who are walking around with cancer growing in their body. They don't know it because they haven't been to the doctor and been checked out, but that doesn't affect the fact that they are dying. So being informed, being aware, acknowledging what's going on is so important. And at this time, there is a weight that is going along with what we are doing. We must acknowledge the heaviness in our heart over recent events. As people of faith, we struggle often between grief and hope. We carry the weight of holding on to our hope and our faith while being realistic about what we're seeing. Some of the things that I'm seeing now, I've never seen in my lifetime. I know that they've happened in our history, but I haven't lived it personally. And so it is normal to experience the heaviness and the weight of that. Yet, we have hope. The pain is real, and it's okay to lament and to cry, right? Historically, we've called for wailing women. We've called for people to pray. I'm not talking about those cute prayers where you quote, a bunch of religious rhetoric that you memorize from vacation Bible school. I'm talking about wailing and weeping and lamenting for ourselves and for our people. The Bible does not ignore suffering, and we should not either. The Bible does not teach us that we will never go through things, but it also does not ignore or negate our emotions. We were created with these emotions, so apparently we're supposed to use them. Excuse me. Even the strongest of us experience despair and seasons. So I'm giving you space today, right? I'm giving you opportunity to feel what you feel, acknowledge what you feel, yet hold on to the fact that we have hope. The turning point for us, the shift in our perspective, comes in Lamentations 3:21 through 23, where we call to mind the things that we have endured in the past, the things that our ancestors and our loved ones have endured, and we have hope. Collectively, community, unifying through our faith and our resources is how we will get through this. What can you say to yourself? I remember, I call to my mind a time when God's faithfulness was exhibited in my life. Think about that. Take a moment and just think of one incident where you just really thought, there is no way I'm going to endure this. There's no way I can get through this. Yet you endured. Yet you're still here. You're still here because the God that loves you, the God that created you, the God that, yes, ma'am, Pastor Kelly. I actually have some tea that I was drinking. Thank you. The God that created you and created this earth knows all of this was going to happen. And so he has equipped us and embodied us and enabled us with what we need to endure, right? So I encourage you today. I want to say, I know some of us, I'll speak for myself, but I know I'm not the only person that doesn't like to ask for help. Like close family members, maybe yes. And you really don't even like to ask them too much. But the reality is that we are in a time when we're, as community, are going to have to help each other and not be afraid to ask for help. And those of you, I've seen a lot of people posting this week, Pastor Burke, about, I tried to warn you all that y'all need to stock up and y'all didn't listen, and here we are. And okay, so maybe I don't have a garage full of toilet paper and paper towels and disinfectant wipes and canned goods. Okay, everybody couldn't do that. Just because you could do it doesn't mean everybody could do it. But this is where community comes in. If you have a storage or a garage full of all these supplies that you think people are going to need, and you have a neighbor that you know may be elderly or disabled, or a single mother with multiple children who's striving and struggling to get through, maybe you can share some of that stuff that you have stocked up in your garage and help your neighbor. This is what community is about. Earlier this week, and I shared this before, I had reached a point where I really desperately needed a few grocery items, right? And most of the time I reach out to my sister, but as we know, she's still recovering from her cancer surgery and she's got her own stuff going on, right? So I try not to reach out to her any more than I have to, but I really needed some items this week. So I reached out to one of my adopted daughters, and I started with this. I am so embarrassed to even ask you this question, but I asked her, told her that I needed some help. She said, well, what do you need? So I gave her a list of some things that I needed. She said, I'll take care of it. And she said, isn't it wonderful when you can swallow your pride and acknowledge that you need help? I think she called herself checking me now that I think about it. But my point is this is where we are, people. You I'm trying to tell you, we have got to come together, not just to sing and dance and shout and quote scriptures, but we've got to come together as community. What do you need? All right. Even if it's about bartering some things. I may not have this, I might not be able to do this, but this is what I have to offer. What can we exchange for what I do have? Community. And I wanna make sure that you understand that many people are grieving today, not just those who lost loved ones in these plane crashes, which is a whole nother subject. What is going on with these planes? But people are losing people unexpectedly, losing their homes unexpectedly. Husbands are going to work and being picked up by ICE and not coming home. Some of our children are being traumatized for life, by these ICE agents coming to their schools and so forth and so on. We have to be realistic about what is going on and hold on to the hope that we have, that we are going to survive. We are going to make it. But we must first acknowledge what we're dealing with and then be available to help our brothers and our sisters. I'm going to share this and then I'm going to let you go. I showed up today, even though I was not sure if I was going to show up, because I cried so much yesterday. It's like every time I would get myself together, I would feel the heaviness and the weight again. And as an empath and a prophet, I don't always, what I'm feeling is not about me, it's about someone else. And I understand that. But it was so heavy that I prayed last night and I meditated before I fell asleep. And I just kept saying, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this tomorrow. But when I woke this morning, Spirit said, this is why you need to do it. This is why I allowed you to feel what you felt. So you could bring a message of freedom and redemption and healing and liberation to the people. Yes, these are trying times, but our Creator is so much more powerful than our circumstances. And we will make it. We will make it. We're not only going to survive, but we're going to come out of this better and greater and stronger. As I was preparing myself this morning, Spirit said to me to just pause and feel, right? Don't be ashamed to feel. Don't be afraid to feel. Feel what you feel. And then exhale, right? And as you exhale, sometimes you exhale, you don't even realize you were holding that breath. But today I encourage you and admonish you to exhale. And as you exhale, you are exhaling that weight and that heaviness. And when you inhale strength and peace. I want to share these words with you. Yeah, I know that's not a normal sermon, but I'm not a normal person. What can I say when it comes to that? I listened to a song this week, um, by Bob Marley, right? And it's called the Redemption Song. And every time I would play that song, I would feel hope, right? I would feel strength. Because most of you know the work I do, even the advocacy work, the ministry, all that is about redemption and freedom and liberation of people. And the lyrics say, old pirates, yes, they rob I. Sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help me to sing these songs of freedom? Because all I ever have, redemption songs. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Oh, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help me to sing these freedom songs? Because all I ever have, redemption songs. And the more I listened to that and kept going over those lyrics, I kept realizing this is what it's all about. We cannot be um, captive or uh, incarcerated by these circumstances. We cannot be locked in and imprisoned by what's going on in this country. Yes, the whole world is looking at us and laughing for the most part, because the mighty America has fallen. Let's just be real about it. Um, but the creator of the entire world remains the same. That's where our hope lies. That's where our faith lies. That's where our peace lies. I think back, and I'm going to close with prayer. Pastor Kelly and Pastor Burt, and those others who may be watching. I think back to the time of slavery, right? And I wasn't there, but based on the stories I've been told and the movies and the oratory sharing, some of the songs, the greatest songs that were produced or that came out of our people, came out during times of struggle and uh, abuse. They'd get whipped, and then they'd go back to their cabin and sing a song, right? The person who was nursing their wounds, applying homemade medicines, right, to their wounds, would sing a song. And so I implore you today, I admonish you today to find your song, right? Within your spirit, within your soul, find your song and show up. Show up every day. Show up in tears, show up crying, show up, whatever. Show up laughing, show up joking, show up whatever, but show up, because we got this. Because we have hope. We have hope. We have experience, right? We have within us the wherewithal and the ability to endure anything. And that's what I want to encourage you with today. I'd like to remind you also, while we're talking about community and helping, to sow into the ministry. There's so many people that we want to help, people that reach out to me for help, and I'm just not able to do it. But if you help me, I can help someone else to sow a seed into the ministry so that we can help other people as well. Again, thank you for those who have tuned in and those who are watching the replay. Be encouraged, right? We got this. We're showing up, limping, some of us, but we're showing up, right? And we're uniting as a community, and we're going to get through this, because he that is within us, the Spirit of God within us, the creative power within us, right? Get up in the morning and do your prayer and your meditation and start creating things to get you through this time. And remember your community. I come, Father, to you thanking you, first of all, for this opportunity to encourage my sisters and my brothers that even in times like this, we are not forgotten, we are not forsaken, we are not being ignored. Some of us are reaping consequences in this country for things that we have done, things that we have not done as a country. But you have not forgotten us and not forsaken us. And we will get through this. We will come out triumphant. Help us to remember to call to our minds the times that you brought us through, to remind us that you're the same God, with the same glory, with the same power. Help us to unite in love as we've never done before. Help us to look for opportunities to serve our sisters and brothers, to cement the unity in our community. We thank you in advance for providing us with the resources that we need in order to serve others and to provide for others. We thank you in advance for touching hearts and opening hearts for people to give. I know some will say, I don't have anything to give during this time. I need to keep everything for myself. But your principles do not teach us that. Your principles teach us that the more we give, the more we receive. Help us to be open to blessing others. We thank you in advance for peace. Even in this troubling time, we can have peace. Thank you, Father. We give you the praise and the honor as these things are manifest this week. I pray that testimonies will come in for people who have received open doors and opportunities that they did not expect to come their way because of their faithfulness to you and to serving their sisters and brothers. We thank you now for these things. In Jesus' name, Ashe and amen. God bless each and every one of you again. Keep me in your prayers as I will do the same for you. We're going to make it. I'm going to finish my tea now, Pastor Kelly. We're going to make it. We're going to survive. We're going to overcome, right? Even in those moments when you feel like, oh my God, this is too much. Like, some people say to me, every day I wake up, I say, what's going to happen now? And I say, okay, you need to be aware of what's going on, but you don't need to be consumed by it. Because whatever happens, it's not like you can fix it or make it not happen. So let's get together in unity, in peace, in strength, and be there for one another. All right? God bless each and every one. I love you, and I'll be praying for you as you do the same for me.